To answer questions of a global or multi-regional nature, such as finding solutions to the challenges of climate change and its impact in the Arctic, multiple datasets covering different parts of the world and sourced from different providers need to be brought together. Using interoperable standard formats and services, as well as a common spatial reference system, makes it possible to integrate multiple datasets and readily visualize them in a generic client application such as Ecere's Gnosis cartographer. For example, here we can integrate multiple layers being served from 3 different organizations offering a large collection of data, each served in a particular standard OGC protocol. Some protocols, which serve raw vector or coverage data, are better suited for dynamic applications as opposed to a static map, making it possible to perform analysis and customize visual styling, including dynamic labeling, and offering additional options to integrate multiple datasets. Such protocols are also generally better suited to 3D visualization clients. Web services offer an undisputed value in facilitating the discovery and easy access to data. However, we also highly value the option of batch downloading large datasets in common, well-documented standard formats, which greatly facilitates our processing and optimization of the data to maximize the runtime application responsiveness and also to perform more involved analysis over a long period of time in which the data is continuously revisited. Throughout the pilot project, we've looked at the challenges of discovering, bringing in, and interactively visualizing different data sets, which include a temporal dimension. The monthly mean land and sea surface temperature data we're looking at here is provided by NOAA and the University of Delaware. We've integrated controls in our client to provide a familiar time navigation interface. Here we're looking at daily sea ice concentration provided by the National Snow and Ice Data Center over the year 2004, with the Blue Marble Next Generation dataset from NASA Earth Observatory, which was also put together for each month of 2004. Temporal datasets make it possible to assess the evolution of parameters such as temperature over time and possibly validate prediction models. For example, here we can visualize the state of the polar ice cap at the end of the summer over several years. We can also show both of these datasets together, shown here in an Arctic projection, and try to clarify the impact of temperature over sea ice concentration. As part of the overarching food security theme of the pilot, we focused on visualization of the Porcupine Caribou herd migratory patterns. The Porcupine Caribou herd is a barren ground caribou living in the northeast of Alaska and the western part of the Yukon territories, regularly crossing the border between the United States and Canada. The distance they cover through their annual migration is the longest of any land mammal on Earth, spanning approximately 2,400 kilometers. Like other migratory caribou herds named after their birthing ground, the Porcupine Caribou herd is named after a river crossing much of its range, the Porcupine River. The estimated population of the herd at the moment is around 200,000, having recovered since the 1970s after a considerable decline. The population faces a number of threats, including diseases, parasites, natural predators, as well as hunters and people or machinery disturbing them and causing them to panic and get hurt while running away. These caribous consume a variety of flora throughout the year and will travel a large distance between food sources. They will eat cotton grass at the beginning of June and then willow into July. During the winter, they will dig through the snow to find lichen on the ground. The Porcupine Caribou Management Board kindly provided us access to data that was collected through GPS collars. A lot of additional information about the Porcupine Caribou herd can be found online at pcmb.ca. The caribou data was originally provided in tabular form as a comma delimited spreadsheet. Our objective was to try to visualize what the herd's migratory pattern looks like. We first performed some data processing, including interpolation between known locations of tracked animals, and other enhancements, such as relating the data to digital elevation data models to provide altitude information and computed their heading as well as the average distance they might have traveled on any given day. Through standard services, we are also able to provide the value-added data to other interoperable clients ready to visualize. By using a 3D model of a caribou to represent the locations, we get a sense of the direction towards which an animal is heading. We've overlaid the caribou tracks on a dynamic base map made of multiple layers from several sources, providing us situational awareness. By playing back the data, we quickly get a feel for the migratory pattern. The calves are born between the last week of May and the first week of June, most of them in the calving grounds shown here. The cows will shed their antlers after they give birth. During the summer, the caribous will seek cooler and windier regions to alleviate themselves from the annoyance of mosquitoes. At the end of August, when mosquitoes no longer bother them, they will move to the mountains and feed plenty to build up fat. During the fall migration, they will retreat into the trees and around the Porcupine River. October is the rutting season, where after a fight the dominant bull will mate with the cows. In November, the bulls will lose their antlers and the herd will not be traveling much. During the winter, they will have to withstand short days and cold temperatures, subsisting on lichen covered under the snow. As the snow subsides in the spring, the annual cycle will begin anew. With the instinct to migrate back to calving grounds, the pregnant cows will head there first. Among the layers we've integrated with the data, we have elevation data from multiple sources, including the ArcticDEM, OpenStreetMap data giving us both natural features such as lakes and rivers, the Alaska-Yukon border, as well as towns and roads giving us an idea of the human footprint and its disturbance around their habitat range. We can turn any of these layers on or off and fully customize their styling. We can also bring in additional data, for example this NDVI dataset from Ornell here to see the difference in vegetation index during the summer over the years. Because we're using interoperable technologies, we can easily integrate this World Database of Protected Areas, which is a joint effort between the United Nations Environment Program and the International Union for Conservation of Nature. We can immediately see when caribous go in and out of the borders of these protected areas, including the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska, as well as the Vavik National Park in Yukon, and understand how much of their habitat currently benefit from additional protection. Another interesting data set we've integrated is the circumpolar distribution of thermokarst landscapes. This vector data represents coverage proportions of wetland, lake, and hill slope thermokarst coverage. We have customized the visual styles, indicating a low to high coverage, different tints indicating different types of landscapes, and color blends indicating mixed landscapes. It is a circum-Arctic dataset ranging from about 45 degrees north. As our Gnosis client performs real-time reprojection, we can easily choose to view the dataset in 3D perspective or in a number of cartographic projections. We can also dynamically adjust the opacity of a given layer to better blend it with the rest of our map. This thermokarst landscape data is fairly high resolution and will give us a chance to zoom in to show how easily we can accommodate multiple levels of detail. While we're zoomed in closer to the ground, we can better notice the gorgeous resolution of the ArcticDEM data. The ArcticDEM is an NGA-NSF initiative. It is constructed from imagery originating from a constellation of digital globe satellites. Our Gnosis terrain engine can dynamically build up the 3D mesh of it, shade the hills, and apply a color ramp on them. To show one application of our terrain visualization, we'll now follow a single caribou through its travels. We get a close-up glimpse for what it could be like to migrate over Alaska and Yukon throughout the year. It is quite interesting to see how much they go up and downhill.